All right, quiz review. Remember, first off, that we're going to be doing map testing next week. So again, please be sure to bring your charged Chromebook. This is important. It doesn't help if you bring your Chromebook to class and it's not charged. So make sure you bring a charged Chromebook to class. Today's quiz is focused on distributive property. Just make sure you pay attention as I review the process with you, or as I review the process. But remember that you should not be writing anything. This is just to bring it back to your memory and give you opportunities to ask quick questions. So if you are in class, as soon as something pops up, you should get up and ask your teacher very quickly to see if they can help you out. But these are all the questions that are on your quiz, or at least the ones that you need to worry about that are new. So let's check it out. X and 9, we have to put this meeting step of 4 meets X and 4 meets 9. That is a point. You then must remember to turn this into 4x plus 36. You cannot put those together. Do not put those together. Stop at 4x plus 36 because x's and constants do not go together. All right. Make sure you're stopping to think about that. Don't just be messing this up because you're careless. Here, x and 7 are your inside terms. 5 meets x and 5 meets 7. 5 times x is just 5x. 5 times 7 is just 35. Once again, you cannot put those two things together, but both of these are 2 points of work. Make sure you're showing them. Number 3, the terms, and be careful, are x and -2 with 9 on the outside. So 9 meets x, and again, make sure you use a plus. 9 meets -2. There's a reason why we do that later, but again, we'll talk about that later. Here in this case, 9 times x we know is 9x, but remember that a negative times a positive when the signs are different is negative, and then 9 times 2 is 18, so just be careful. In the end, just to check your common sense, that sign for now should be following whatever is going on. So a plus stays a plus and a minus typically stays a minus right now. Again, that comes to something different later, but for right now, that's going to be the case. Outside of that, x and -5 meeting 8. So 8 meets x and 8 meets -5. This turns into 8x. 8 times -5, remember, because the signs are different, is negative, and then 40, because that's what you get when you multiply them. 3 times 4x plus 6, again, the first term is 4x, the second term is 6. We don't need to say positive 6, that's assumed. So 3 meets 4x, and 3 meets 6. Remember, the difference here is that when you multiply a number by a number with a variable on it, you just multiply the number and bring down the variable. So 3 times 4 is 12, bring down your x. 3 times 6 is 18. Cannot put these two together because one has an x and one does not. Number 6, your two terms are 8x and 7 with 5 on the outside. So 5 meets 8x, and always with a plus, 5 meets 7. 5 times 8x, remember, multiply 5 by 8 is 40x. Bring that x down, and then 5 times 7 is 35. This is putting it together even more, where you have 5x and -2 involved. So 9 meets 5x, and 9 meets -2. I hope this is a game of patience that you're winning, because again, it is going to take some patience to do it right. 9 times 5x is 45x. You multiply the numbers, bring down the variable. Here, pay attention to the fact that these two signs are different, so -18 is what you would end up with as you go. 3 times 8x minus 7. 3 meets 8x, and 3 meets, don't forget that is a -7. So when you do your 3 times 8x, that is going to be 24x, because remember, we multiply and bring it down. 3 times -7, the signs are different, is going to be a -21. After that, don't forget there will be problems with 3 terms, so you want to make sure you take your time. You'll have one like this where 3 meets x, and 3 meets 3y, and 3 meets 4. In that case, this just turns into 3x. this just turns into 9y because you multiply and bring it down. And then 3 times 4 is just 12. Cannot put these two together because one's an x and one's a y. Cannot put this with either one of those two because it needs to have a matching letter, which again we'll talk about later. Here, 3 terms. Remember the 3 terms are 2x, negative 6y, negative 5z. So 5 times 2x is the first part, so 5 meets 2x, and 5 meets negative 6y, and 5 meets negative 5z. The reason I draw a line through my z is because otherwise it looks like a 2. 5 times 2x, notice how we have a 2 and a z. 5 times 2x is going to be 10x. We multiply the numbers, bring down the variable. Being careful here, you have 5 times a negative 6, which is negative 30, bring down the y. And again, being careful, you have 5 times negative 5, which is negative 25z. Cannot put any of these together because one's an x, one's a y, and one's a z, and those terms cannot be combined. Last thing to be careful on is your addition of decimals. Remember that we line up the decimals, and the best way to do it, especially with addition, is with the longer or the bigger number on the top. And so you write 34.9, 9.32 with the decimals lined up. The best thing also to do is to balance your decimal by putting a 0 there, and then you add as usual. 0 plus 2 is 2, 9 plus 3 is 12, carry the 1, 4 plus 9 is 13, plus 1 is 14, carry the 1, 3 plus 1 is 4, and the decimal comes straight down. On subtraction, it's not as bad, but it is still tricky. 8.73, subtracting. And again, before you do it, balance your decimal. The problem with this is that you can't do 0 minus 3, so you borrow from here to make this a 3 and turn this into a 10. 10 minus 3 is 7. Well, here's the other thing. You can't do 3 minus 7, so what we have to do is borrow from this, turning that into 13. 13 minus 7 is 6. Oh, now we can't do 6 minus 8, so guess what? We borrow from this. 16 minus 8 is 8. Decimal point comes straight down. 8.67 is it. So again, that is your quiz. Make sure you bring all that, or make sure, pretty much all I can say is good luck, because at this point you got to take the quiz, but just make sure that next week, if you're behind, that you're working to kind of get caught up. I don't think this stuff is that bad unless you're just being stubborn and not trying to do what you're supposed to do. So I will talk to you later, and have a good day.